I thank you very much for that, for reminding me to record it. Okay, so I'm not going to start from the beginning again. I'm just going to mention, bottom line is that now we're coming to the 9 days. The 9 days start from Rosh Chodesh according to Ashkenazi custom, even Sephardic custom. It's just the week of Tisha B'Av, which is stricter, and halachically it's stricter, as we will soon discuss. So what is the customary things which are not allowed to be done in the 9 days, starting from Rosh Chodesh of, which this year is Monday, that means Sunday night at sundown, begins all the laws of the 9 days, and it goes through Tisha B'Av, or really the 10th of Av, in the afternoon, 1 o'clock. So the 9 days this year would begin Sunday night at sundown, and we'll go through Tisha B'Av as Tuesday, we'll go through Wednesday, 1 o'clock. Now, generally speaking, it is not a mazel dika month. It's brought down if you have a court case with a non-Jew, try to extend it. You try to have certain medical procedures and things. If you can, you try to avoid it. It's not a mazel dika time. It's a time when we lessen in the level of simcha. Okay? So therefore, you can't purchase objects of simcha. For instance, you want to buy silver things. So household things that you need, the necessities you could buy. If somebody needs a car, let's say their car died, or they need a car, or they could buy a car during the 9 days. But just to buy objects of simcha like silver or renovations of a home that are just for cosmetic purposes. You don't plant a garden, it says in halacha, during the 9 days. You don't plant a new tree during the 9 days. Those things are all supposed to be forbidden. If it's a mitzvah like a shul, mikvah, those things that you're allowed to do building during the 9 days. Now, because it's a time of mourning, avelut, or avelus as we call it, so there's certain things which are forbidden during the 9 days to do. Number one, you're not allowed to eat meat or wine for the 9 days. I'm talking now the Ashkenazi community. You're not allowed to eat wine or meat during the 9 days, which includes chicken. Wine includes grape juice. I mean, Sunday, let's say for argument's sake, sundown is 7:45, whatever, approximately. 7:45 Sunday night here in LA, time. So no more wine, no more meat. If you want to eat dinner, even though it's Rosh Chodesh, you're still not supposed to eat meat, which includes chicken. That means not only can you not eat meat or chicken, you can't eat a dish that has meat cooked together with it, even though the meat is taken away. Friends, I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you make chicken soup with chicken. Okay, then you take away the chicken. So you're not really eating chicken. But nevertheless, chicken soup is fleshik. It has the taste of chicken. You wouldn't be allowed to do it. If somebody cooks meat and potatoes, and then they take away the meat, but the potatoes were cooked together with the meat, so you're not allowed to eat those potatoes also. So there's no wine, no meat. If it's a bris, so then halachically you could, pidyon ben, halachically you could. If somebody finishes a tractate of Gemara, those people that came to the siyum, as it's called, are allowed to eat meat or wine. If somebody, God forbid, is not well, and they must have wine and meat, they should call it of, because there are certain times you can have leniencies. Obviously, chicken would be preferred over meat. There's a lot, or little kids that are allergic to dairy and they can only eat meat. And so, again, so those things you need to ask a shaila from your local competent Orthodox rabbi to find out what you're allowed to eat or not. Now, what happens if somebody makes parava food in a meat pot? There's no meat in the ingredients, but you took a meat pot. Halachically, even if as long as it's clean, even if that meat pot was used that day for meat, it was used that day for meat, but now the pot is clean, you're allowed to cook vegetable soup, you can make potatoes, whatever. You're allowed to cook in a meat pot, even if it was used that day for meat, as long as it's clean. That's not a problem. But you're not allowed to have actual meat or wine and things like that. Number one. Number two, there's a din in halacha as follows in Shulchan Aruch, that you're not allowed to wear freshly laundered garments during the 9 days. This is very similar to the laws of a mourner, God forbid, that loses a relative, a close relative. There's very similar laws to this. You're not allowed to wear freshly laundered garments. So halacha says like this. Concerning underwear, that's not an issue. That's not a problem. You can put on clean underwear whenever. Concerning, let's say, shirts, pants, for women, dresses, blouses, whatever it may be. With the exception of Shabbos, you're not supposed to wear freshly laundered garments. Therefore, what do? So let's say, for argument's sake, for the 9 days, excluding Shabbos, you need 4 shirts, 5 shirts, or whatever. So the din is you put it on for a half an hour. You could start Friday, Sunday, whatever, it doesn't matter. You could wear a shirt, let's say a pair of pants for half an hour, take it off, change it, next shirt, another half an hour, next, you could do more than half an hour. But then you take it off after half an hour, it's still clean, you hang it up, and that you're allowed to put on during the 9 days. The same thing applies to dresses, blouses, basically refers to the outer garments. So you're talking about basically shirts and pants for men, and you're talking about dresses, blouses, skirts, whatever, for women. But the underwear is not an issue, those socks is not an issue, but freshly, you're not allowed to wear freshly laundered clothing. You're not allowed to give anything into clean during the 9 days. Even if you're giving it, you don't want to wear it during the 9 days. You want to wear it after the 9 days, after Tisha B'Av. You're still not allowed to give it during the 9 days to a cleaners, even if it's a guy. So if somebody has, let's say, a housekeeper in their house that does laundry whenever they come, during the 9 days, you're not allowed to do laundry. The exception of that is kids' clothing. But with the halacha, they're talking about diapers. They didn't have disposable diapers in those days. So that technically, if a kid, because they would get the diapers dirty, or kids that play around, they get their clothes dirty. So then, up to the week of Tisha B'Av, you're allowed to wash children's clothing. What happens if adults run out of clothing, and not because of negligence? They did what they had to, but they put on before whatever, but they ran out of clean clothing. The din is you're allowed to wash only what you must have. You can't make a load and just dump everything in. You're only allowed to wash what you must have. And that only applies to the week until Tisha B'Av, until the week of Tisha B'Av, which means you have to do it before Friday afternoon, because Saturday night is already the week of Tisha B'Av. Because Tisha B'Av is Tuesday, so Sunday, Monday is the week of Tisha B'Av, which is much stricter. By the way, another interesting thing, linen. Now, for Shabbos, let me just say like this: for Shabbos, you're allowed to wear freshly laundered garments. It's not a problem. Shabbos, you can wear freshly laundered garments. By the way, it's an interesting thing. In the time of the Alter Rebbe, in those days, the non-Chassidic crowd, because Ramah brings it down in Shulchan Aruch, that Shabbos Chazayin, the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av, which is in the 9 days, they did not wear their Shabbos clothing. In Shulchan Aruch, it's brought down, they wore their weekday clothing on the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. Why? Because it's a mourning period. The Vilna Gaon came out against it, and by Chassidim for sure, they wear their Shabbos the Shabbos before. On the contrary, the Alter Rebbe said that because Shabbos is above any level of mourning, not a sad day, Shabbos, there is no Avelus, there's no mourning and Shabbos. So the Alter Rebbe said, and the Rebbe used to quote this a lot, You have to show more simcha on Shabbos that day than you normally do on every Shabbos of the year. Because we want to show that there is no concept that people should even think there's mourning over the destruction of Beis Hamikdash. Shabbos is a holy day. It's above any concept of mourning. But in those days, in the days of the Alter Rebbe and later, by the way, until a few, maybe 60, 70, there were still people doing this. Nowadays, I don't think anybody does it anymore, that they wear the weekday clothing on the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. Okay? So, but what's interesting is like this. On Shabbos, you're allowed to wear freshly laundered clothing. But, and this you should understand, you cannot put on fresh linen on the beds the Shabbos for the 9 days. That means if you're planning to change your linen, that's why we're learning this early enough. If you're planning to change linen on your beds, you have to do it before Sunday night because you have to lay on the bed Sunday afternoon. Because once Sunday night comes, it's already the 9th day, and you can't sleep on freshly laundered linen. And even for Shabbos, Shulchan Aruch says that you're not allowed to change new. So if people want to change the linen, they should change it maybe for this Shabbos already, whatever. But I'm just making people aware of the fact that you can't do that. Technically, the same thing applies to towels. Towels, many people are more lenient about, but in Shulchan Aruch it says towels, you also can't use freshly laundered towels during the 9 days. So what do they say you do? You take a towel, you dry your hands once on it, put it away, and then you take another, you put away. But again, especially in the mikvahs, they're very lenient with using freshly laundered towels in the mikvahs and things like that. Now, another din which applies, changing what we said, okay. During the 9 days, you're not allowed to buy any clothing. During the 3 weeks, you can buy clothing that are everyday clothing. During the 9 days, you're not allowed to buy clothing unless if it's on a super sale, but it says a big sale, not some a regular sale. It's on a very big sale. But also during the 9 days, for instance, you're not allowed to purchase garments. You can't make garments. There's a minute women have, they don't do weaving, knitting, needlepoint. They don't do that during the 9 days. Because again, that's enjoyment and it's things for weaving has to do with the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Now, for somebody to repair a garment, let's say somebody tore a hem or tore on the seam or a button fell off. So you're allowed to repair clothing during the 9 days. You can't make new clothing. You can make a new hem, shorten the pants or whatever it is. But if it's to fix something, that you're allowed to do during the 9 days. Now, another thing which applies in the 9 days, this is a very important thing, that is like this. You're not allowed to swim during the 9 days. Bathing for pleasure is forbidden to do during the 9 days, which means you cannot do water activities. I'm not talking about the camps with very little kids. They really have to ask a shaila if they could do it, they can do it. But to go swimming during the 9 days is forbidden. Unless, and this again, there are exceptions to the rule. If somebody needs swimming for health purposes, they're not doing the recreational swimming. They're doing it because the doctor said they need to swim every day or whatever. So then they are allowed to swim during the 9 days. Let me say another din, which is very important. In halacha, it says you're not allowed to shower. Wait until I'm done. It says you're not allowed to shower during the 9 days, except For Shabbos, you can wash your hands, face, and feet. Hands, face, and feet. Part of your head, hands, and feet that you're allowed to wash. So now there's a whole question. Nowadays, though, people, it's not like showering. Years ago, the Rambam says that a person used to go to the bathhouse once a week. They would go to the bathhouse once a week to bathe. So that was the custom in those days. So people say nowadays that people shower every day, basically, or very often. So it's a whole different story. It's what's called an istinus. They're very meticulous. They're very finicky. So, okay. So bottom line is, let me explain the bottom line. People that go to mikveh, I'm talking about men now. Men that go to mikveh every day can go to mikveh. If somebody feels they need a shower, and I say this every year, and I'm going to say it again this year. If you feel you need a shower, halachically, you could take a quick shower. A quick shower. You should not take a shower in public. You should not go to the mikveh and take a shower in the mikveh. That is something that should not be done. That's very rude, and you're showing that you don't care about halacha in Torah. If somebody wants to go to the mikveh, let them take a quick shower. Again, cold water, hot water. If they need warm water to get clean, they could use warm water. If they need the soap to get clean, they could use soap. But what I'm saying is, you don't sit there in the bathtub and have a good time, or sit there at 20 minutes under the shower and have a pleasurable washing or showering. You feel dirty, you go in and out, you take a quick shower. People know what I'm talking about. You take a quick shower, you wash your body. Even if you need soap, you need soap. You need warm water, you need warm water. But in and out, and you don't sit there and just enjoy it. Friday, the custom by Chassidim, Friday afternoon, and the custom by Chassidim is they take a full shower. And then you could take that even in the mikveh. That was what the Chassidim did in Russia, and there's many poskim today, right? And this is the minute Bachlal by Chassidim that Friday afternoon they take a full shower. They take a full shower and that's it. But during the rest of the week, again, you need a shower, you take a quick shower. Women that have to go to the mikveh during the 9 days. So again, they can do all the preparations because it's a mitzvah. It's washing for mitzvah. They could do all the things that they need to do. And some. Now, there's just a few more things about the 9 days. The Rebbe wanted that because the Gemara says, the Mishnah said, Mishenichnas of Mima'atin b'simcha. When the month of Av comes, you lessen the amount of simcha that you have. So the Rebbe explained it to me, but that simcha, which is allowed according to Torah to do, that you have to do. And especially during the 9 days, which means like this. Especially according to Chassidus, if there was Hashem b'simcha, serving Hashem with joy is a fundamental aspect of Torah. Okay, the pasuk says in Parshas Kisavei, all the curses came about on the people because they didn't serve Hashem b'simcha b'tul levot. They didn't serve Hashem with simcha. Okay, so simcha is a vital thing. Sometimes the Torah forbids simcha, but there is a simcha that the Torah itself allows even in those days. For instance, making a siyum on a Masechta, finishing a tractate of Gemara. So that's a simcha that you're allowed to do during the 9 days. So the Rebbe wanted people should make siyumim or listen to a siyum. Today you have siyum, go to Chabad.org, you go to various different websites. They have siyumim every single day, and you can listen online. It's like you're there. You can even Zoom it today. But people should be aware of listening to Simcha and listen to a siyum because that's the purpose to transform all this negativity and sadness to make it a level of Simcha. Again, that's the general laws. Again, there's books written just on the 9 days, but haircuts you can't do. That was anyway in the 3 weeks. The laws of Tisha B'Av itself, Mitzvah Shem, we're going to learn next Wednesday night. Let me see one thing, what else there is over here before we go to Tanya. Okay, garments, no meat and no wine. If people have health issues, they have to ask a Rav. Bathing for pleasure is not allowed. So you can't go swimming during the 9 days and things like that. Okay, that's basically the laws of the 9 days. So we're going to go now to Tanya. We'll start Tanya a little bit earlier because we finished the laws of the 9 days.